property management as well. I've been in the real estate business for 28 years. I know you want to know how I've been doing real estate for 28 years when I'm 35, but yes, I've been doing it since I was 7 years old, and I'm pretty good at it. So, yeah, that's what I got. That's what I do. I do have a story. I really started getting into real estate investment once I got out of prison. And it really paved the way for me and my family, and it changed the trajectory of the direction that my family was going in. So it saved my life.
Give it up, y'all. Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Beyond Wynn, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland in the building.
Yep.
I remember they used to say Cleveland was the mistake on the lake. I call it the greats on the lake.
I felt a lot of haters in the room.
Say it again. They're gonna be all right. So what's up, everybody? Again, my name is Beyond Wynn, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a real estate investor for over 2 decades. Real estate saved me from doing life in prison. Like Chris, we got similar stories. I used to have a pharmaceutical company, but I gave that up. Changed my life around. Instead of, leading people to prison that was following me when I was coming up in the streets, now I'm leading people to the bank.
Jerron Smith. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jerron Smith, and I'm also from the great city of Cleveland, Ohio.
Greats on the lake.
Cleveland. My career took a bit of a different turn. I also had one of those tough childhoods in Cleveland, Ohio, being a big knucklehead. Luckily, I had a strong father who also was in the pharmaceutical business, but gave it up to raise his son. And he kind of taught me some ways that kept me away from that. And as a result, it put a passion on my heart to want to do something to help empower the community. And I thought no better way to empower the community through economic empowerment. And I didn't know how I was going to get there, but if you asked me when I was 18 years old, I said I wanted to own my own bank. But what ended up happening is I became an advocate. I spent 10 years on Capitol Hill, being an advocate and advisor to some senior members of Congress and the House Financial Services Committee and the Banking Committee. But God used me in a particular way where I got to also do advocacy work on criminal justice by passing the First Step Back into law, passing the Opportunity Zone legislation into law, working on PPP and carving it out for minorities, and also empowering our nation's HBCUs. And so what I do now is focus on creating this infrastructure of opportunity so that no man gets left behind no matter where you're at, whether it's Cleveland, Ohio, or the Mississippi Delta. And I think it all starts with the right mindset and financial empowerment.
Hey, you know what? Y'all, we're gonna make y'all get a little more energized today because these guys have just kind of gave a background of who they are. But Jerron just said he helped pass the bill for the Opportunity Zone. Y'all even know what the Opportunity Zone is? We're gonna break that down. Let's go.
Colin Allen. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, but I think I'll be a property investor in Cleveland, Ohio, very soon, based on my interactions with the team here. Run the American Property Owners Alliance. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization. Jerron and I have worked together for most of that time that we've been in DC. My time comes from being on the Hill, from working in a large trade association that did real estate, and it just have been able to see the power of homeownership and property ownership. So really want to be able to get in there and spread that word through the Unlocking Opportunity Tour. Larice and I are out there on the regular, kind of doing this.
That's right. So go ahead and get up for Colin, everybody. We're going to jump right in, and I kind of want to piggyback on that, Colin. What have you been seeing as we've been traveling the country when it comes to doing the Unlocking Opportunity Tour? Do you feel that people are energized? What's the feeling and sentiment around homeowners or potential future homeowners?
Yeah, I think people are really excited, right? And we were talking kind of backstage. One of the things that I think we hear even more is this potential for being able to invest in real estate, right? I buy my own home and then I can kind of use the equity that I've got here to get into another rental property, or I buy a duplex and able to generate some income off of that while also kind of owning the property. But I think the excitement that we see, right? Like I think when we started this thing 3 years ago, we're 40, 50 people. Now we're seeing several hundred folks at a time when we're out on the road. I think that's a testament to people. The average age of the first-time home buyer is now 40, right? So I think people are really looking for that information and that the engagement to like, how do I get there and kind of do it sooner.
So Jerron, piggyback on that and speak about that from an advocacy. So when you worked with Colin to create this, what was the whole emphasis by why you wanted to create this, and make the connection to home ownership and advocacy as we do this work as well, and the importance of it?
Sure. So, years ago when I left working in government after working in the White House, I decided that I wanted to build a social impact practice that would allow for me to kind of do the work I did on the federal side in the private sector, because I saw a real gap with the private sector really losing trust in communities. Most people don't trust some of these big organizations, big banks, because they haven't done a good job of building that trust in the community. And so I built a 4-part plan that included behavioral health, creating community safety, economic empowerment through wealth building, education and workforce development, and the intersection of how those all connect with each other. And so it's funny, when the power of magic, when you write goals out in a business plan, things get attracted to you. You kind of lean into it, and then things come your way. And I was able to kind of reconnect with a colleague of mine that I used to work with at Treasury, and she was like, hey, look, we're looking at a way to kind of really go into underserved communities and give them the tools they need to build wealth through home ownership. And I was like, great, because that's something that's missing. Most times when you see seminars like the ones we put on, they're giving you a fee to come to it, or they're trying to sell you something and not really giving you the tools. At our events, we're giving away, we know people have financial hardship, so we're giving away grants to help people with those financial hardships and giving them a free meal, and then giving them the education that you have, as well as the people in the community that they can lock in with in order to get started. And I think what we need to do as a second step is creating advocates in those communities, because you guys are the people that really make the decisions in this country. But what are you advocating for? What are the barriers or opportunity in your community, and how can we unlock them? And so that matched up with my North Star, and because of Colin's leadership and then your wherewithal, we've been able to touch and change hearts and minds all across the country, and we're just getting started.
Man, that's good. Y'all can give it up for that work. Beyond. So you're out here, and ownership is a new wealth. That's what's being said. And when it comes to home ownership, and so on one side they say don't buy, rent so you have the flexibility, right? On the other side is don't buy because it's the biggest equalizer when it comes to the wealth gap when we talk about home ownership. From your perspective, where do you sit with that?
I say buy as soon as possible. When you talk about legacy and building wealth, and we talk about one of the avenues to do that is with home ownership. So why wait? We need to start moving with a sense of urgency, because we can't buy time. Time running out. What are we waiting on? We come to events like this. You get the information. You got access to the people. You know that home ownership is one of the major keys to building wealth in America. What are we waiting for? We don't need more information. We need execution. We need to move like it ain't no tomorrow, because nobody is promised tomorrow. How many people know somebody that we just talked to them and they're no longer with us? By a show of hands. So what are we waiting for? we need to start moving with a sense of urgency. It ain't that we need more information. It's some people in here that they specialize in just going to events and not executing. We gotta execute.
You said event specialist? Is that a new title? Yeah, I'm giving you credit for that. You called it an event specialist. Okay. So is it a mindset thing? Is it an access thing? What's the real problem, or knowledge thing? Or even a confidence? Because we've been hearing that around the country, Duran and Colin. Is it confidence that's stopping people from buying homes?
Oh no, that's funny you said access, right? How many people got a phone? Raise your hand if you got a phone.
So I have the room now. So if I come up to you and ask you to see your phone, everybody should.
So everybody in here got a phone. That's like a computer that we got in our pocket. And we got access to everything right at our fingertips. So again, the problem is not having access. The problem is information overload, thinking that you're not ready, you need some more information. No, you need to use the information that you already got. And what happens is, it's the same way people say, man, give me 10 good books to read. And I say, no, I'm gonna give you one. Because if you read the one, in that book, or when you get to the end of that book, it's going to direct you to some more books. It's the same way when you execute on information. Because just sitting here, we can't see the opportunities that's around the corner, but when we stand up, we can see, right? We see something, right? You gotta give in order to get. And when you start moving, it's an energy that's associated with your movement. And then when you walk around the corner, you start to see some more. And then you keep walking and you start to meet people that's on the same journey, that's in position and equipped to help you get to the next level. But it can't happen if you just sit still and keep taking classes. You gotta take action.
So I want you guys, I'm gonna start with you, Chris. Is it a knowledge, access, capital, or confidence? I want you to break that down. So what are your thoughts?
Bring that back to me one more time.
Is it a access? And I put confidence in there because again, we hear that a lot when we're on the road. Or is it a capital, or is it a knowledge thing?
I'm gonna say confidence. The reason I say confidence, I'm also a mentor for people to teach them how to flip homes. And I give these same people the exact information over and over and over again. It's the blueprint. It's the blueprint I've been using since I was in my 20s, and I know it works. I can give that same information to 10 people, and only 2 people will execute the information that I gave them. But what's the difference? The difference is the confidence. You cannot be scared to jump. I remember when I was working a job, I was a unit electrician, and I used to listen to Steve Harvey's morning show, and he would always talk about jumping. Don't worry about that parachute, just jump. And I remember I called my wife and I told her, I said, today is gonna be my last day at work. She said, what you talking about? What we gonna do about benefits? I had some good benefits. I said, I don't know. I said, but today my last day. I said, today is the day that I jump. So I believe that confidence is what really makes the difference in your success. Like I said, you can have all the information in the world. Read all the books you want to read. Come to all the events you want to come to. But if you do not have the confidence to execute and use that information to get to where you're trying to get, you're going to be in the same place that you were when you were talking about being in the place that you wanted to get. Did y'all understand?
Yeah. I want you. But I want you to add, as you answer this, I want you, because I was going to ask you and Colin, as we've been on the road, what do you think, based on what we've seen and heard, are some things that need to be changed in order for us to go in the right direction when it comes to homeownership? Go with you.
Well, one, I think what Beyond said is extremely important. It is about action. You know, you can't just sit idle. But I want to kind of weigh in on this word confidence. To me, it's a mindset. that you gotta have. You know, it's purely a mindset. It's that will to win. It's being resilient and relentless, because the reality of life is that there's no straight line to the top. You know, that I think is the biggest lie in the world when they talk about quick money and wealth building. You know, it takes sacrifice, it takes delayed gratification, it takes discipline. It takes trying to figure out what the hell is your fast food. What are you good at? You know, and sometimes, and I've made this mistake in my life, you choose a profession and you think that's what you're supposed to do, but that's not really what God has for you. You know, my pastor told me once, if you're focused on work and you're doing it and you're like not delivering any fruits, you just need to turn in another direction and try something new and can't be afraid. You gotta be resilient enough to know when to switch it up. And having that type of mindset, just like when you stood up and walked and see what around the corner, you learn. You learn from all those experiences. And then when you see the things that start to give you fruit, double down on it. Oh, this is working. Become an expert at it. I mean, I would have never thought in a million years I'd be a consultant or a lobbyist. I did that from like doing everything I dreamed about since I was 16 years old. I've done accounting like you. I said I'm not an accountant at all. I've been a finance major. I've been a stockbroker. You know, I tried to play football. I played football in college. You know, of course, when I hit that track with my best friend and I saw him go to the NFL, I was like, maybe this is not for me. You know what I mean? But you have to have that real conversation, because some people will be delusional. And to your point, there's a lot of noise, especially with social media, especially now, especially in your friendship circle. You know, so you have to lock in with yourself, and that's what builds the confidence. When you kind of know within yourself what's my passion, and that willingness not to quit along the way, because you're going to get knocked down. And I've been arrested 3 times, you know, but then advised the president of the United States, you know, after that, because of my simple will to win.
No. He said that real quick, did you hear what he said? And then I advised the president. Look, our cousins them out here, they not catching it, but it's all good. Colin, so what things do you think we need to change in order to make sure? What did they say? The statistic that NAR just did was 21% of new first-time home buyers first-time home buyers are actually buying homes. It used to be, before the Great Depression, 40% of first-time home buyers were buying homes. So what are some things you think that we've noticed, or that you know on the back end that should be getting done?
Exactly. No, and the biggest thing that we're trying to address, I think, through the programs that we're doing, and then in the activation part, right? You're looking at affordability, right? Like, what can we do to build more homes in the places that people want to live at a price they can afford, right? I think this is, from the supply side, huge thing that we've got to do. And then really all of it gets back to dropping that age of the first-time buyer that you was talking about, right? Like 40 years old for a first-time home buyer. I mean, you know, if you bought 10 years ago, you've missed out on that entire the appreciation over that time, right? Like, if you could have bought when you were 25, when you were 30, right? We want to drop that age. So looking at ways to get folks in, and some of it is just busting the myths that are out there, right? I think we've found that as we've gone across the country. We've got 80% of people, when you survey them, think that you got to have 20% down to get into a house. That's not a policy change, right? There's a ton of stuff across the country that you can get in for 3.5, 5, 0, right? Whether it's FHA, private mortgage insurance. Cleveland's got a ton of the local programs there. They get folks in and kind of help them close the difference between what the house would sell or is appraised for and what you could buy it for. So I think we are finding some of these things and realizing that at least a piece of it is helping folks in the local areas, right? Kind of building those networks and bringing them the information about the local programs, in addition to what we're trying to do at the federal level, right? To address issues of affordability.
So you kind of heard, and I'm gonna have you tap into that beyond. If you're a business, how many people consider themselves to be business people in the room? Most of you here in the room. I want you to remember you heard this on the Invest Fest stage. If you consider yourself to be a business person and you're not doing business in Cleveland, you're not doing business. And that'll hit you on Monday. Well, go ahead, Beyond.
I just just want to add to something my guy said, because I think it's important, not just for business, but for life. He said that on your journey to do anything worth doing, you're gonna fall down, you're gonna get hit. It's a part of life. And so I always like to say, when I'm watching football, and I'm not a football guy, when I'm watching football, I'm thinking life and business. And so when I'm watching football, I watch these guys that make, $50 million, $100 million, but every Sunday that they play football, they fumble. But they got a $50 million contract, a $100 million contract, but they fumble. So my point is this: if they make 50 million, 100 million, they fumble, they still get paid. What's stopping you from locking in on your goal? What's stopping you from going after everything that you want in life? It's okay to fumble. Like they fumble every Sunday, they still make millions. The best basketball players on the planet, they make millions, but they still miss free throw shots. Don't be afraid to fumble. Don't be afraid to miss the shot. Be afraid of being in the same place next year. Be afraid of continuing to sit on the sideline and sit on the bench.
And just, I'm gonna add to that, have a long-term view, right? I think this is one of the things that Jerron and I see in DC all the time, right? It's like, we just had a big housing bill that passed, right? We've been working on that for 8 years, right? It's not something that happens every day or every 6 months or anything like that, right? And we have had a lot of fits and starts and failures along the way, right? This isn't something that just happens. And I think that mindset and being able to accept that you're not going to win every time, right?
You don't need to.
Look, it's the right win, right?
Stake is one.
So I want to start with you, Chris, on this. What is, to all my homeowners or future real estate investors out there, what is the most expensive mistake that you see first-time home buyers or real estate investors make? I know you got a plethora of them, but give them a couple so they don't make them after that.
Man, we could be here all day talking about that. But I'm gonna just talk about people in general. What I see today is, and this is over the years too, people shouldn't be afraid to buy now. So what's gonna happen? Everybody in here said, I should have bought houses 20 years ago when the market crashed, right? And they're like, oh, we should have bought this property then, we should have bought all these properties and did this and that back in 2006. Well, 20 years from now, those are going to be the same people that say, I should have bought houses back in 2026. Buy it now. Just stop waiting for the time. Right now is the time to buy. It's going to be 20 years from now, and you should say, and there's going to be your friends that be like, man, I should have bought when you bought. But it's a lot of people talking about now where they're saying, hey, I shouldn't buy, the prices are up. Well, in 2010, when I was buying properties, I was buying some properties for $20,000. Those same properties are worth $200,000 right now. Who was smart? I have so many friends who was making money with me at the same time and wasn't buying properties. Like, I'm gonna wait till the prices go down. I'm gonna wait for the prices to go down. They're not going down. Buy now. So I think that's the biggest mistake in real estate today with homeowners, investors, the wait game. Stop waiting. Buy now.
Beyond. I see you out there, and I see you doing your bus tours, when you're taking them through the city as well, and you're training people. But some of those people, that's not their first time probably investing. And when you talk to them and you're educating them, what are some of those mistakes you see people making?
The first thing I think is people paying attention to interest rates. In real estate, pay attention to the deal. Like, it don't matter about the interest rate. If it's a good deal, it's a good deal. No matter what the interest rate is, it's a good deal. If it's the Great Depression, scamdemic, plandemic, real estate is all about the deal and the numbers. Don't fall in love with the house. People fall in love with the house and they lose money trying to force deals to work. Fall in love with the numbers. Make sure the numbers make sense. Even for first-time homeowners, owners, you should be looking at the property from an investment standpoint. Even if you're gonna live in it, look at it from an investment standpoint. It's not the American dream if you buy a house for $200,000 that's worth only $200,000. That's not the American dream. That's the American nightmare. Did y'all hear me? A lot of people are doing that and they too embarrassed to say that they're doing that. You never pay what a property appraises for. If it was appraised for $200,000, you don't pay $200,000 for it. Because if you fall on hard times or something happened and you fumble and you need to tap into your so-called American dream, ain't no equity there. But if you buy the house, thinking from an investment standpoint, and the house worth $200,000, you all in for $120,000, you fall on hard times, you can tap into the house. If you buy a house for $120,000 that's worth $200,000 and you're looking for some money to start your first business or get your next investment property, you can tap into the house. That's the American dream. American dream ain't you paid $200, it's only worth $200. That's why a lot of people lost in 2007, 2008. The property wasn't worth what they paid for it.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that. It's value investing. You got to kind of make good economic decisions when you're making these decisions, when you're making the investment. Larice talks about it on the road a good amount of time. You know, people buy these huge houses, they can't even furnish the house, you know, and then they can barely pay the mortgage, you know, and you spend more than 50% of your income on a mortgage you can't afford. And then because hard times is going to happen with a house, you know, roof might go out, you know, electricity, maybe a new water heater is going to set you back, you know. So having the right values when you're investing and making sure it's something that you can afford and keep up with, and that's in your financial plan. But that all comes with goal setting. You know, you got to kind of know why you're doing it in the first place and where you're trying to go with it. And many times people are trying to, quote unquote, keep up with the Joneses. And we're family, you know, it's a big family in this room, so let's keep it real. Sometimes we're just trying to look good, you know what I mean? And that's what the delayed gratification is about. It's not about looking good, it's about building yourself up, you know, creating wealth over time and being the best you can be. And you're only in a race against yourself, not against anybody else, you know? So you need to stop looking at the person next to you or the person that's lying on social media, you know, and figure out what are your values.
Construction, like build more, build now, and then opens up a lot more on the manufactured homes, right? So we're talking about affordable options. You know, today's manufactured home is not the, you know, trailer that rolled in double wide of yesterday, right? You know, they're bringing in pieces of the house, building it right there on the site like you would a normal home, but like allowing for the streamlining there, cuts down on costs, right? And gets back to that point of we need more homes in the places that people want to live at a price they can afford. So a lot of that kind of stuff. Rehabbing old and dilapidated kind of homes is another big piece of it, right? And you know, one that we look at, especially in urban areas, you know, you've got older homes or office buildings, right, that could be converted to housing, again, to kind of accommodate that.
Yeah, so I mean, look, just think about it. Why are homes so expensive? Limited supply. It's supply and demand. So what this legislation does, it allows incentives to create more supply, especially on the local level. And sometimes, you know, the regulatory costs, whether it's the environmental regulations you gotta do to build stuff or the union labor you gotta pay for. This legislation kind of put a crack in that so that we can focus on building up that supply. It's also putting out more resources for individuals that want to be developers or individuals that want to buy that first home. You know, and then the big thing that it does, it cracks down on institutional investors. Because I don't know if you've been up and down the East Coast, but it's people who just sit on properties that are multi-billionaires and they're part of their investment portfolio. So it ended that.
Very, very important if you live here in Atlanta. I know
right.
that 25% of the homes in the city of Atlanta have been bought up by institutional investors.
Exactly. So that was a big problem, and Congress saw for it. I mean, it was an interesting coalition. You had Senator Scott and Elizabeth Warren, who you think would never agree on anything, but they were able to kind of put their differences aside to create a legislation alongside with French Hill and Maxine Waters. And so huge bipartisan support in both houses. And I think what we're going to spend a good amount of time is educating people on the road, because the thing is that this is not all about the broad things that the federal government does, but how can you actualize that stuff locally and then take that to create action?
Make sure that the goals that we laid out and the policy wins that we got in that make it down to people who are trying to buy homes and build buildings.
So again, it's very important that you're not registered to vote, your kids are not registered to vote, you're not going to the polls, and your voice is not being heard when it comes to something. When you're sitting here saying, I want to be a real estate investor, I want to be a homeowner, it's important that we get to the polls, everybody. But let me ask this. I'm going to do a lightning round real quick with the panel. And Beyond, I'm going to start with you. Everybody here in the room, hypothetically, y'all record me, y'all gonna say Reese said I was gonna get $100,000. It's not real, it's a hypothetical. If you all left, everybody in this room, when they hit that door, received $100,000. So they all start the same level field, the same line, nobody's different, there's no variance. Why would, in 1 year, one person would go from 100,000 to 500,000, but the other person, the same starting point, would have 0?
Mindset. Because here's the thing, people think that, and I used to be one of those, I used to be one of those people. I thought that when I made a certain amount of money, I thought that it was just gonna magically change my life without me changing who I was. So in the beginning, my whole goal was to make 6 figures. Like, you know, I'm 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, 19. My whole goal was to make 6 figures. It wasn't like become a good person, work on my mindset, build community, build relationships. All of that was absent. I just thought that magically my whole life was gonna change. Something magical was gonna happen when I made 6 figures. So you know, what you focus on expands, no matter what it is. That's why they say be careful what you ask for. So I focused on that. I got to 6 figures, and I remember like yesterday. I was walking around my house. I lived in East Cleveland at the time. I was walking around the house. I made the money, but I felt more lost than what I was before I had the money. Because nothing magical happened. I'm looking out the window. I'm like, wow, I got the,
He said, I got a lot of money.
yeah, I got the money, but I didn't feel good. Like I was empty. And so at that point, I knew that nothing outside of me could change my life. What I really needed in order to change my life was inside. And I had to work on the things inside that I kept continuing to cover up with money.
Yeah, I want you to tap into that, Chris. Talk about the same scenario. What's the difference in that individual?
I kind of want to stand up because this sit down.
Go ahead. He said stand up.
I want y'all to see this outfit. No, but for real.
Hold on, Chris. LaShawn said don't clap too much now. Yeah.
She wanted to clap. She like that.
Yeah.
But the money only amplifies your habits. I'm gonna say it again. Your money only amplifies your habits. So if you're a crackhead and I give you $100,000, you're just gonna smoke $100,000 worth of crack, right? So like my man said, it's all about your mindset. So if you have a consumer's mindset, your $100,000 gonna be gone. If you have an investor's mindset, you're gonna multiply that $100,000. And I could probably tell by talking to each and every last one of you what you would do with that $100,000. Now I'm gonna tell you, I had got $100,000 when I got out of prison. And I was flat ass broke in a year or two. So probably a year, no, 6 months. I bought jewelry, I bought the watches, I bought the houses, I bought the cars. I was a mess. But I got my season again, and I was I was blessed to do it again. So I changed my mindset, and I've multiplied over and over and over again. I ain't up here to brag, because I ain't nothing special for real, for real. I don't even know why Reese got me up here, but I did the right thing with the money. So like Deion said, it's definitely the mindset. If you have a consumer mindset, you're gonna blow it. If you have an investor's mindset, you will multiply it. And I promise you that. And if you know you're a person who has a consumer mindset, get with somebody who has an investor's mindset. We're not too cool to tap in with somebody who has a little bit more information than we do, or has more resources than we do. So you know who you are. Don't be ashamed. You know you're a consumer. You know you like them Jordans. You know you like that Louis Vuitton. You know you like that Gucci. Get with somebody who you know has an investor mindset, like my friend here. I'm gonna keep it real with you. This guy helped me make my first million. I'm not gonna lie. He did. He put me on the right track. He put the right people in my life because I was a consumer. So he put a lot of different people in my life, told me certain things to do, give me a financial advisor, give me an accountant, an attorney, all the stuff that he talked about earlier. I put those things in place and my life changed tremendously. So that's my $100,000 question. I knew I was a little longer, but that one was near and dear to me. So.
No, but that's real. Now, Jerron, and I want to ask all four of you guys this. You have the opportunity. I'm going to take you out to space for a second, but I know you can answer because you've done a lot over your career. Own a home, own a business, or own investments. Which would you do first and why?
Well, if you're talking about me right now, it's own a business. I'm always trying to figure out how to bring in more revenue and income. And it's ways you can grow a business in the short run that I can use those resources to go into the other two. But I think owning the business and creating that fastball, that revenue generator is it gives you just flexibility to kind of learn and to kind of do a lot more. However, the power of compound interest. If I was 20, 19, 18 years, I would want to have an investment portfolio, because in 20 years, man, in 40 years, your ability to kind of take advantage of compound interest over time can do a lot.
So you're a business.
Business, yeah.
We're gonna stay with the business.
Business.
Compton, where are you at?
I run the American Property Owners Alliance.
That's what I said.
I think